I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the show. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that, I am forever grateful. Thank you very, very much. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel. Show your support for what we do here, and please let your family and friends that are conservatives, Republicans, or American patriots in general know about the show. And even if you got some Democrat friends out there and liberals, have them tune in so they can learn a little bit about how they act and what they say. We like to say that we're doing our best to piss off the far left here at this Douglas Ducote Show. And it's obvious from some of the comments I get that that's exactly what we're doing. So we're over the target, and that's a good thing. It is Thanksgiving week. And I, for one, am looking forward to spending some good quality time with my family and friends, starting tonight, all the way through Monday. A lot of family coming in for the holiday, and I hope that you have the same thing happening wherever you're at, and I hope that you're safe, and I hope that you can remember about all the things that we here in America are thankful for, and especially remember and be thankful for our troops and our good law enforcement officers that are out trying to do everything in their power to protect we the people. So I want to start off tonight with a little bit of humor. At least that's how I looked at it. Senator John Kennedy is now the latest punching bag for the left-wing liberal snowflakes and many left-leaning Democrats up in Washington, D.C. And besides getting their sensitive little feelings hurt and tears flowing, they also got their pink panties in a wad in their butt cracks and are calling the senator a racist and a bigot. Now, Senator Kennedy, let me tell you this much. I wish I had, I don't know what's the proper word for it, the mindset, I guess, to be able to come up with some of the things that comes out of his mouth when he's interrogating someone in front of Congress. He has a very good way with words that is just hilarious. All right. I've met the man many times. He's a senator of Louisiana. He's a good guy. He's funny. He's comical. But the left now is very upset with him, as I'm about to share with you. The HuffPost ran an article earlier today claiming that Senator John Kennedy is a racist and a bigot because of his recent comments about Vice President Harris and his recent comments about Mexico. Now, what could he possibly have said that would have them labeling him a racist and bigot and going and attacking him on social media? Well, here we go. About Harris, he said, Americans have concluded that Vice President Harris is not capable, and when her IQ gets to 75, she should sell. I'm not saying that's fair or accurate, but that's the conclusion that the American public has reached. He added, I would say the vice president needs to work on being a little more articulate. Some might say that based on her performance, that English is not her first, second, or third, or even fourth language. Now that the left and Democrats are saying these comments, prove that Senator Kennedy is a racist, according to the HuffPost. What do you say about Mexico? He said, without the people of America, Mexico, frugally speaking, would be eating cat food out of a can and living in a tent behind Outback. Now the left and Democrats are saying this proves that Senator Kennedy is a bigot. For the love of all things holy. Really? You bunch of snowflakes, I swear. It is actually comical to listen to the things that y'all get your panties in a wad about and get all upset about. And words is the biggest thing. It's like when Trump was in office. You know, Trump spoke his mind. He said whatever he was feeling that day. And if you attacked him in the press, on social media, he came after you like a lion that hadn't ate in a week. And they didn't like that. Oh my gosh, he's the worst thing since Satan. And even to this day, they're still saying all kinds of horrible things about Trump for speaking his mind. They really can't say anything about the economy. They can't say anything about what he did on the world stage. They can't say anything about, you know, our low gas prices we had, or low grocery bills we had. No, all the things that matter to the American people, they've got nothing to say there other than to say that he's horrible for the country. And now they're saying that if he's elected again, and oh, by the way, liberals and Democrats, it looks like he will be, they're saying that that'll be the end of it. The republic will fall. It will be done. The country's over with. Well, guess what? That's what we're saying about Joe Biden, who's doing nothing for you or anyone else. Look around you, for crying out loud. Wake the hell up and realize that our country is going to shit under this current administration. Factual information, folks, and things that we care about. Look at the gas prices. Look at the oil prices. Look at how we're now dependent on, once again, foreign oil to supply what we have. Joe Biden depleted our emergency reserves to lower the price. For his actions of attacking the oil and gas industry. The price of groceries in our stores, healthcare cost, what's happening on our border, and what's happening on the world stage, how we're just under attack from every area you can possibly imagine. And the left just doesn't get it, because they don't pay attention to that shit. They really don't. Because anyone outside of a snail brain would be able to see the difference between the 4 years of Donald Trump's, what our country was like, and what we're currently living under with this administration. And if you don't see the difference, it's because you're a multi-millionaire and it doesn't affect you. Just doesn't. But for the average men and women out there that are working, many holding down 2 or 3 jobs, many scraping by, that's done on purpose. It's done to make you more dependent on the government for handouts. And that's how you destroy a nation. U.S. forces stationed at air bases in Iraq were attacked earlier today, and that prompted a U.S. military aircraft to strike back. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh said Iran-backed militias used close-range ballistic missiles against U.S. and coalition forces, resulting in several non-serious injuries and some minor damage to infrastructure. Reuters cited 2 U.S. officials reported that the attack resulted in 8 injuries. U.S. forces have been attacked approximately 66 times since October 17th, including 32 times in Iraq, 34 times in Syria. U.S. personnel have sustained approximately 62 injuries altogether, not including today's attack, which is still being evaluated. All coming from Iran. When we eliminate Iran, shit will get better. Hamas will not be able to attack Israel. Hezbollah will not be able to attack Israel. The Taliban and those that interpret the Quran word for word, believing that or interpreting it to mean that they should kill all infidels, when they're no longer getting support from the largest terrorist organization on the planet supporting terrorists, Iran, things will change. Iran is responsible for not just what's happening over in the Middle East currently, but also they have the blood on their hands from American soldiers that have died from their support of terrorist organizations. What this administration is waiting for to go full out and blow the living shit out of them, I don't know. But that needed to have been done yesterday, for crying out loud. I know today, supposedly a AC-130 gunship from Eglin Air Force Base in Herbert Field in Florida was part of the attack. And if you know anything about the AC-130, well, they just destroyed some people on the ground that were responsible for some of these attacks. This administration has authorized several other attacks with F-16s and F-15 fighter aircraft attacking buildings that were half empty that were used in the past by militia backed by Iran that does absolutely nothing. I mean, come on. Be men, be big boys up there at the Pentagon, up in the administration, and just let our military loose, for crying out loud. For once, stop dictating what they do when you deploy them and let them fight the terrorists straight on. If they would have done that in Afghanistan and Iraq, many other places in the Middle East, we wouldn't be dealing with this crap today. But sadly, Republicans as well as Democrat presidents have pretty much put a collar on our military and not allowed them to do what needs to be done to eradicate the earth from these horrible, evil people. I've reported on the recruiting problem that our military is up against many times and just how bad it has become. And, well, it's getting worse, my friends. What is taking place right now makes the military look like hypocrites and idiots. And I hate to say it, but those in charge at the Pentagon, those in charge of the Army, those in charge of the Air Force, the Marine Corps isn't having a problem, and the Navy's not having a problem. But the rest of them, they have a bunch of woke idiots running it. And just, it's more important that transgender type service members get sex change operations paid for as a soldier than it is to actually support the men and women in service doing what's right by them. And that's sad. When they allow circus clowns to come on base and go to the schools and to the libraries, we're talking about drag queen shows. Okay? That's the kind of shit that is drawing Americans away from joining the military ranks. Well, here we go. You guys are going to love this if you haven't already heard it. The U.S. Army sent a letter to former service members that they dishonorably discharged for refusing the COVID-19 vaccine, informing them that they can now request correction of their discharge records, as the military branch reportedly struggles with recruitment 3 years after the onset of the pandemic. The letter, which gained traction on social media, was addressed to former service members and notified of a new Army guidance regarding the correction of military records for former members of the Army following the recession of the COVID-19 vaccination requirements rescission. It states, as a result of withdrawing all COVID-19 vaccination requirements, former soldiers who were involuntarily separated for refusal to receive the COVID-19 vaccination may request a correction of their military records from either or both the Army Discharge Review Board or the Army Board of Corrections of Military Records. The latter signed by Brigadier General Hope C. Rampey of the U.S. Army Director of Military Personnel Management Office of the Deputy Chief of Staff, goes on to link to 3 forms where individuals can request correction to military records, personnel records, including regarding the characterization of their discharge. Because if you refuse to take the shot, you are dishonorably discharged. It goes to say individuals who desire to apply to return to service should contact their local Army, U.S. Army Reserve, or Army National Guard recruitment for more information. That's how bad recruiting has become in the Army right now. They're going back after they dishonorably discharge and ruin these service members' lives for a period of time, for crying out loud, where they couldn't get benefits. They couldn't get shit. They destroyed them over this. And now that they're hurting and they can't get people to join, they're doing everything in their power. They're lowering standards. And now this. An Army spokesperson confirmed the authenticity of the letter for Fox News Digital. As part of the overall COVID mandate process mandated by Congress, the Army mailed the letter following Veterans Day weekend to approximately 1,900 service members who had been previously dishonorably discharged for refusal to obey the mandated COVID vaccination order. Army spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Ruth Castro told Fox News Digital in an email statement yesterday. The letter indicates that the Army is hoping these soldiers will apply to return to service. Look, you may get a few, but the rest of them, they're going to apply to get the dishonorable overturned to honorable so they can get their benefits. And then they're going to go, that's what's going to happen. The military in general has been going through a major recruitment crisis for the past 2 years. For both fiscal year 2022 and fiscal year 2023, only the Marine Corps and the Space Force met or exceeded their recruitment goals. The Army, Navy, and Air Force all missed their targets by a long shot. The size of the active duty Army has shrunk from 485,000 in 2021 to 452,000 currently. This is the smallest active duty Army since 1940. Thank you very much, Joe Biden, Commander-in-Chief. It's because of you that the United States Army is the smallest it's ever been since 1940. In 2022, they missed their recruitment goal by 15,000 soldiers. This crisis changes made to policy included the removal of a policy that mandates recruits have a high school diploma or GED. That's right. You no longer have to have a high school diploma or GED. That's how bad they're fucking hurting. There's been a lot of backlash on that, and they're now looking at trying to find a way to change that policy. Around 8,000 soldiers were kicked out for not getting the vaccine, which is a lot, even if you don't take the context of the recruiting crisis into account. The letters that were sent out have been verified by the Army as well. Back on October 3rd, the U.S. Army announced a transformation of its recruiting enterprise, stressing how the armed forces faces the most challenging recruitment in a generation. At a press conference from the Pentagon, Secretary of the Army Christine Wormuth and Chief of Staff of the Army Randy George detailed sweeping changes in how the Army will identify and recruit talented by expanding forces past high schoolers to a larger share of the youth labor market and create an increasingly permanent and specialized talent acquisition workforce. You couldn't make this shit up if you tried. They said the Army expects to have ending fiscal year 2023 with nearly 55,000 recruiting contracts, including roughly 4,600 for the Army's delayed entry program, recruits who will ship out to basic training in the 2024 fiscal year. As a result, the Army said if that happens, it will meet its in-strength goal of 452,000 for active duty soldiers. The competition for talented Americans is fierce and is fundamentally different than it was 50 or even 20 years ago, Warmus said. Task and Purpose noted the Army separated about 1,900 active duty service members for refusing the COVID vaccine during nearly a year and a half that it was mandated that they take it, or you get kicked out. Regarding recruitment woes, the outlet also cited in July of 2022 memo from the Department of the Army stating that Army's military faces the most challenging recruiting environment since the all-volunteer force was established in 1973 at the end of the Vietnam War. Driven in part by the post-COVID labor market, intense competition with the private sector, and a declining number of young Americans interested in uniform service. Now, why is that? Oh, we already discussed some of that. The circus clowns, the sex change operations, the don't say this or don't say that because, oh, that's sensitive and it's going to hurt my ears. All the freaking policies that they've come up with to basically take our United States military and turn it in as close as they can get it to nothing but a wimpy force. Now, thankfully, we have a bunch of brave men and women that do sign up. And we have a bunch of brave men and women right now serving. And at the lower NCO type section, they don't deal with that shit. Okay? If your feelings are hurt, fucking get out. You don't belong here. The memo said currently only 23% of 17 to 24-year-old Americans are fully qualified to serve. Guess what? Drug convictions, DUIs, assault and battery, you name it. Citing data provided by the military branches, CNN reported back in October that only 43 of the more than 8,000 U.S. service members discharged from the military for refusing the vaccine have sought to rejoin 8 months after the vaccine mandate officially was repealed. 43 of the 8,000. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin officially rescinded the COVID-19 vaccination order for service members on January 10th of 2023. Austin had issued a memo on August 24th, 2021, requiring service members to be vaccinated against the virus. According to Task and Purpose, thousands of troops unsuccessfully sought religious exemptions from the indoctrination, including 8,945 soldiers, 10,800 airmen and guardsmen, 4,172 soldiers, and 3,717 Marines were dishonorably discharged. Here's what's going to happen. You ready for this? Get ready for it. You heard it from me. And for those of you that tune into this show on a regular basis, you already know what I'm about to say. We're going to have to come back with the draft. And we're going to have to draft these little fuckers right out of high school, right into the military for whatever, 2-3 years. Or we're going to lose our country because we're not going to have the force we need to conduct missions that are happening. If you haven't noticed, Biden is fucked up so bad as the commander-in-chief that the world is on fire right now. Not to mention what's happening right here at home. What a shame. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Biden and his medical condition. The former White House physician for Democrat President Obama, and that's who appointed him, and he was Capone for Republican President Trump, expressed concern yesterday about President Biden's health and mental acuity as the president turned 81. Doctor and now Representative Ronnie Jackson said on Fox and Friends that the growing concern, including from the left, are valid. I've been saying for quite some time now, when he was candidate Joe Biden, that I didn't think that he had continuity available or ability to do the job. Additionally, Jackson emphasized that Biden has degenerated over the last 3 years. He's got these people that surround him that are inappropriately encouraging him to continue to run because it builds up who they are and what they do. But our border, our wars overseas, our economy, it's just a disaster right now. And he just can't do the job. And it's just on display every day that he's not capable of doing this job anymore, Jackson warned. Jackson said previously, I think his lack of physical ability and his physical decline is now starting to highlight what's happening in his mental state that we've been watching for so long now, Jackson said. It's a package that just doesn't sell well around the world, and it's becoming a national security issue for America. We have to do something about it. In recent weeks, Democrats, including former Obama advisor David Axelrod and far-left liberal Democrat host Bill Maher, have cast doubt on whether Biden should continue with his re-election run. From his experience as a White House physician, Jackson said the job of president is too demanding for Biden. He can't do this at all, Jackson told host Steve Doocy, warning that Biden cannot perform the duties of a commander-in-chief and run for re-election in his current state. Jackson joked that Biden's aides should convince him that he's at the end of his second term, and he would believe it. And sadly, that's true. Look, mental illness is something that, first off, it's rampant in our country and across the globe for that matter. But even if you're sane and you don't have any mental illness issues going on, 95% of everyone, once they get up in their late 70s into their 80s, their mental capacity starts going away. And we start seeing things like dementia happening. And it can happen to even younger people for that matter. And that's what we're watching happen with this guy. He is babbling about shit that's absolutely insane, things that aren't true. He's telling stories about things that he did in his life when he gives speeches that just he made it up. They're fabricated. And he keeps saying it as if it's real. Hell, he has said over 11 times now that his son Beau Biden died while serving in Iraq. His son. He buried his son because he died of a brain cancer. Not serving in Iraq. But Biden keeps repeating that and making up stories about wherever he's at. If he's at a place where they're building electric buses, he talks about how he was a bus driver. He never served as a bus driver. When he's talking to the union people at the railroads, he talks about when he was a train conductor. The fucking guy was never a train conductor. I mean, it's just, this is mental illness. And then we see him going around sniffing little girls' hair and making comments that are inappropriate constantly. Not to mention how many times have we seen him trip and fall. That's what happens when you get elderly. When you get older, your whole body starts deteriorating. That's part of the life process. For some people, they don't experience it as the way that other people do. You know, there are people that are my age that are bedridden, and there are people my age that can run marathons. And I'm kind of in the middle of that. All right. But what we're watching happen, as far as I'm concerned, I've said this before, I say it again. This is elder abuse. It's elder abuse to allow this to continue to happen. I've said many times, I do not see him finishing out his term as president. I don't see it happening. I see them removing him and putting Kamala Harris in the position of president, and then having somebody else run on the ticket. Because what they're seeing right now in the poll numbers, even CNN and MSNBC are freaking out over these poll numbers, where in all avenues, Donald Trump smokes him. Look, they brought it on themselves. They picked a candidate that isn't capable of doing the job. And now they're continuing to push within his inner circle for him to run again. And it's just not going to work, folks. It isn't going to work. House Republicans in their investigation into Joe and his son Hunter Biden, along with some of their family members, are closing in on a make-or-break moment in the drive to impeach Joe Biden, with GOP centrists remaining highly skeptical of the effort, even as its leaders look to decide in January on whether to file former articles against the president. Even with a planned deposition of Hunter Biden in the coming weeks, the party remains in a tense spot, with centrists signaling that the party's investigation hasn't yet met their bar for an impeachment vote, and a right flank ratcheting up pressure to move forward. It's all building to a decision on whether to persuade those to vote for impeachment articles as soon as January. Republicans would likely accuse the president of improperly using his political office to further his family business dealings, though they haven't yet found, according to Republicans that are against this, a smoking gun to that effect, and some members acknowledge it seems increasingly unlikely. Impeachment advocates are still probing other issues as well, such as the federal investigation that resulted in a failed plea deal for Hunter Biden. We get those depositions done this year, and then we can decide on whether or not these articles, House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan told Politico, predicting that decision would happen early next year. But a familiar obstacle for Republicans stands in the way too: their thin majority in the House. And then if they pass it in the House and do impeach him, well, it's going to be just like what happened with Trump. It's going to get to the Senate and that's it. And he's not going to be impeached. Though Republicans can draft and file articles without a lock and whip count, impeachment backers will need near unanimous to actually recommend booting Biden from office, since it's virtually assured no Democrat would vote to impeach Biden. Ending an impeachment inquiry without a vote, or a failed one, would be an embarrassing political setback, both for hardliners and Speaker Mike Johnson, who conservatives view as their ally on the issue. But centrists remain unconvinced that impeachment is necessary, and what's more, that group has grown increasingly willing to buck leadership after the 3-week speaker fight, and with 2024 drawing closer. Any kind of an impeachment puts our Biden people in a really tough spot. A GOP lawmaker involved in the investigation, who was granted anonymity to speak candidly, said in an interview, "Impeachment hurts us politically. It makes our base feel better." Republicans are aware that the deeper they go into 2024, the larger the shadow of the upcoming election looms, both for Biden and their vulnerable members. And there's no guarantee any potential political benefit of keeping the conversation in a spotlight into the presidential election will navigate the added pressures on Biden's district Republicans. We understand that the further you go towards an election, the more polarized these conversations become. And that's why it's all the important for us to begin to take action sooner rather than later, said Representative Ben Cline, member of the Judiciary Committee. Jordan estimated he and the oversight chair, James Comer, have a dozen to 15 interviews they still want to finish by the end of this year. at least one of those interviews is likely to spill over into January. Elizabeth Hirsch-Nafel, who purchased Hunter Biden's artwork, Jordan, Coomer, and Ray's and Means Committee Chair Jason Smith also briefed Johnson on the status of the Biden investigation last week, and more fights on the front could further drag out the inquiry. Coomer said that he wants to hold individuals who don't comply with the subpoena in contempt, though he acknowledged that his decision for the conference, if anyone in the Republican final batch of interviews fights a subpoena in court, they could tee off a lengthy legal challenge. Not to mention, decisions on impeachment could easily run into the pair of government funding deadlines in mid-January and early February. But conservatives are eager to move the impeachment effort into the next phase, with the Judiciary Committee expected to take the lead on drafting any formal articles of impeachment. I think it needs to be moved to, I don't even know what that word is, ALACRITY. I've always felt that we should be able to move faster, but I do anticipate that it comes to judiciary soon, said Representative Dan Bishop, a member of that panel. Republicans are months into their sweeping investigation into the Biden family. They poked holes in some of Joe Biden and the White House previous statements and found examples of Hunter Biden trading on his family name, including invoking his father to try to bluster his own influence. But they struggled to find a direct link that shows Biden took official action as president or vice president to benefit his family's business deals. But Republicans aren't putting all their bets in one basket. They've hinted that they could also draw obstruction allegations into the impeachment article, citing any refusal by Biden administration to cooperate. Meanwhile, Democrats in the White House are already previewing the rebuttal to the potential charges. Now, let me cut straight to the chase. And why the Republicans aren't doing this is beyond me, all right? During the debates between Biden and Trump brought up the laptop. Biden denied everything. And then, when he became president, was able to get the FBI and the Department of Justice to double down with him and start putting it out on social media. And actually, they paid Twitter $2 million, our Justice Department, to say that it's Russian disinformation and that it wasn't true, that there was no laptop, there were no emails, there were no pictures that Trump claimed that they had. They lied and lied and lied. And Joe Biden himself, many times now, has said he knew nothing about what his son was doing. The people that were named that he supposedly met with, he said he never met with them. He was not involved in any way, shape, or form. Then finally, we find out the truth that the laptop was real, the emails are real, and in that laptop are photographs that Hunter Biden had at the different meetings that his daddy attended as vice president of the United States with these people that he claimed he never met, along with the emails showing he was there, the pictures showing he was there, while his son was doing deals with China and with Ukraine. Pay to play. They were paying millions of dollars for access to Joe Biden as the vice president. That is a fact. That by itself is enough to impeach him. Now, regardless, if all the Republicans went along with it, and right now they sure as hell won't, as we've seen happening so far, it'll never get through the Senate because the Democrats have that. But for anyone on the left to say that Joe Biden is telling the truth, that he wasn't involved, when we know factual from the emails and the pictures and the witnesses that have testified to this committee that Joe Biden was there and knew everything they were doing. There were business partners with Hunter that turned against him. It's a lock seal situation. It's over. We know what he did. He can continue to say he never done it, he never met him, he didn't know anything about it, all he wants. The House has also found out that there were like 40 different shell companies set up to hide this money. They've got the bank records to prove it. Guilty as charged, my friends. Yet our Department of Justice doesn't give a fuck. Our FBI doesn't give a fuck. And here just recently, I don't know if you heard this or not, but they've decided they're not going to pursue any charges against Joe Biden for taking classified documents while he was senator, taking classified documents while he was vice president. The FBI goes and raids Trump's house to get a couple of boxes of classified documents that he claims he declassified. But regardless, if he did or didn't do it, we know that Trump had classified documents at Mar-a-Lago. We know that. Okay? Set that aside. Joe Biden had classified documents in 2 positions in the United States government, at both of his homes, one in a garage, unsecured, next to his car, at both offices that he had, even after he got out of vice presidency, way more documents than Trump had. And they're not going to pursue charges. They raided Trump's home and they got special investigators to come forward and file charges against Donald Trump. Biden did the same thing times 10, and they're going to do nothing about it. He will not be charged criminally like Trump was. That tells you all you need to know about this current FBI and Department of Justice. I cannot wait to see a Republican back in the White House to kick these motherfuckers to the curb. The FBI, as far as I'm concerned, don't give them another fucking penny. Let that organization dissolve. We need the FBI, don't get me wrong, but not under this current group of leaders. I've been watching Director Wray testify in front of Congress. And you can watch it too. It's right here on YouTube. Just put it in the search engine. This week, he's been testifying. Testified last week and the week before that. And he's held nobody accountable. They have made him look like the biggest incompetent idiot that's ever walked the face of the earth. He doesn't fucking care. Maracas is the same way, in charge of Homeland Security and our border. You can't find a more incompetent person for that position than that guy is. They draft articles to get rid of him, impeach him. And we get Republicans that side with Democrats enough to where it cancels it out and he doesn't go away. Republicans that don't give a flying shit about the fentanyl coming across here, killing thousands of Americans, the sex trafficking of women and children, the MS-13 gang members, and on and on and on. For the love of God, what in the hell is happening with these Republicans that get elected into office and then turn around to the American people and go, remember that come time to vote, folks. Don't reelect them. Speak up like I do. You have freedom of speech. You know what the Constitution says. Don't go over the line, but damn it, We've got to continue to press the issue. And sadly, we're not doing it enough. AmericanMilitaryNews.com is reporting that Russia is going to amend laws to start charging so-called volunteer military troops for ignoring orders and deserting. Russia will charge volunteer fighters who surrender, desert, or refuse to carry out orders with a crime as the Kremlin seeks to maintain discipline on the front lines in Ukraine. Let's first understand that these are not volunteers, my friends. Russia has lost so many troops in this war with Ukraine that they're now forcing all able-bodied males to join the military ranks. At the same time, Ukraine has also lost thousands of troops, and I don't know where they're going to get them from. Russian lawmakers have proposed amendments to the criminal code that would equal punishments for the volunteers with those of professional soldiers, according to the document that was published on their parliament's website. Volunteers are not criminally liable for such actions under the current legislation in Russia. Russia recruited many volunteer fighters for its invasion of Ukraine with promises of high pay for a tour duty lasting only several months. However, it has extended their tour indefinitely, aimed to lack of manpower and the fact that Ukraine is kicking their ass. President Vladimir Putin said last week that all fighters will remain at the front lines until the war is over. Analysts said he is hesitant to carry out another large-scale mobilization ahead of presidential elections in March. Putin ordered a mobilization in September of 2022, sparking anger and the fight of hundreds of thousands of men abroad to avoid being caught up in this mess. Some volunteer fighters who have served the terms of their contract have left, while others have refused to carry out orders they considered suicidal, according to social media videos. I've seen them. If you haven't seen them, they're right here on YouTube, for crying out loud. You can see them taking their cell phone and recording themselves going, we don't have food, they're not giving us water, we're not getting resupplied of ammunition, and Ukraine is kicking our ass. I'm done with this fucking shit. I'm going on the Ukraine side. That's right here on YouTube. Look it up yourself. Russia has sent soldiers to attack Ukrainian positions in what is described as human waves, leading to a large loss of life. U.S. intelligence agencies, the CIA, has estimated that more than 200,000 Russian soldiers have been killed or seriously wounded and taken out of the fight in Ukraine. Now, I find it laughable that some people are believing the no-merit bullshit that's coming out of the mouth of a 71-year-old former Army Colonel, Douglas McGregor, who has not served in the military in 19 years, over the reporting that I've been doing on the Russia-Ukraine war. I'm not taking away from his service to America by any means. He served his country with honor, and I thank him for his service. But for whatever reason, and I don't know what that reason is yet, he's currently spreading fake news, and many conservatives, so-called patriots, are soaking this up like a sponge with what he's saying and claiming that we're being lied to. So let me make this pretty simple for you. I have military friends right now, people that I served with, that volunteered to go over to Ukraine and join them and fight, that are on the ground right now, that I get text messages from weekly. They're actively engaged in this war. I have friends at the Pentagon that I serve with that share information with me every week. So let me ask you, if Russia was winning the war, Why is the war still going on 2 years later? The second most powerful military in the world, second to us, America, still hasn't won that war. Russia started this war on the 24th of February, 2022. Before the war, Russian military forces made Ukraine's military look like the Girl Scouts, for crying out loud. And here we are 20 months later, and Russia is still fighting. Russian President Vladimir Putin said, and I quote, "We will take Kyiv, Ukraine within 2 days." And I, for one, thought for sure he would. But I didn't realize what we were already doing is they were building up their forces. Neither did anybody else. Our government secretly was sending in supplies and what Ukraine was going to need to fight off the Russian forces. We were sending, and so did NATO countries like Germany, Great Britain, and Canada, F-16 fighter jets, tanks, bombs, missiles, unlimited supply of ammo, small arms. Had it not been for that, Russia would have taken Ukraine within days. No doubt about it. You want more proof that Russia's not winning the war? You want it? Here you go. You can go right here on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok and watch thousands of personal videos being uploaded to the war zone by Ukrainian troops using their cell phones, blowing the living hell out of Russian troops, tanks, planes, and even naval ships. Facts matter. And all too often, people spread fake news for whatever reason. I don't know. I don't understand it. But I'm not one of those people. If I make a mistake, I'll be the first person to come on this show and tell you, oh, when I put out such and such last week or week before, turned out that I was wrong. And if it turns out that Russia does, in the long run, win this, well, that's going to be pretty fucked up, because guess what? They're going to have in their possession all these weapons that we've sent to Ukraine. But the current administration wouldn't care, because they left billions of dollars of military equipment where? Oh, in Afghanistan. I posted a list of all the military equipment that we have so far supplied that I know of. I'm sure there's many things I don't know of. But what I'm positive of in my community section, if you feel like you want to see the list, go check it out. Without that stuff, Russia would have rolled right in there and took over Ukraine in literally a matter of days, like Putin thought he was going to be able to do. But he did not count on the Ukrainian military standing up. He did not count on, and nobody knew for months, if not maybe over a year, the military equipment we've been secretly sending into Ukraine, because they saw this day coming and they wanted Ukraine to be prepared for it. Now, regardless of what you think of Ukraine or don't think of Ukraine, or what you think of the war going on over there, that's for another discussion, another time. I, for one, am not happy with all the money we're giving them. Why are we giving them billions of dollars? We already gave them billions of dollars. It's going to turn out to be trillions by the time it's over with of money when we're giving them all this military equipment. And if Russia wins, that equipment falls into Russia's hands. And that won't be good. But when we have former military personnel going on talk shows, telling the world that we're being lied to, that Russia has already won the war, and you believe him when you have the ability. Hell, the Ukrainian Defense Force has a fucking Instagram account for that shit. Look it up tonight. Watch it. They're showing, their fighter jets are showing what they're bombing. Their artillery is showing what they're bombing. Troops on the ground fighting are showing what they're doing. Tanks, everything. It's all open for you to see. Russia getting blown the fuck up every time they come across that border. They take some ground, Ukraine goes in there and kicks their ass and kicks them back out. And then you have a mutiny on Russian troops going, fuck this. Everybody that goes forward gets slaughtered. That's a fact. Whether you believe it or don't believe it. My friends that are on the ground fighting this war with the Ukrainians, they got no reason to lie to me. And trust me, if they were losing, they would tell me about it. So I could tell you about it. And I would come on here and tell you. But that's not true. They're telling me, Doug, Russia has nothing left. We're fucking kicking their ass and destroying them. But sadly, people come on and believe that some washed up 70-year-old, 71-year-old former colonel knows what he's talking about. I don't care what your rank was. I don't care where you served in. If you aren't currently locked into what's actually physically happening and that being fed to you like I am, shut the fuck up. You got no reason to be spreading that information. And why he's doing it, I don't know. Got nothing against his service. He served honorably. But he doesn't have the right to be spreading fake news and conservatives believing that shit. Because he was a colonel, so he's got to know better. Ask anybody that served in the military, any veteran, who runs the United States military. And they sure as fuck aren't going to tell you it's commissioned officers. It's non-commissioned officers. We're the ones that take it to the enemy. We get the orders, and we're the ones that make it happen. Ask them. But yet, sadly, everybody that they bring on to be experts in the field happen to be commissioned officers and not the NCOs. And I've heard so many commissioned officers stare into the camera on CNN, on Fox News, MSNBC, all the other major networks, lying their ass off. Another thing you can ask your veteran friends, what happens when you have somebody in your unit that's a fuck up? Whether it's a commissioned officer or an enlisted person. I'll tell you what they do. Ask your buddies, they'll back me up on this. We get them out of our AO, our area of operation, so we don't have to deal with them. And where do we send them? We send them to schools. Get out of here. We're sending you to this school over here. It's going to last 6 months, or it's going to last a year, or it's going to last 2 weeks. We just send them away to schools. Well, that backfires. And they're still sadly doing it today. You know why it backfires? Because every school is promotion points. When the points come out, guess what? Screwball Snuffy over here that you've been sending off to schools because he's incompetent to do his fucking job now gets promoted and moves up the ranks. It's called fuck up and move up. It's an Army term, and it's a military term in general. And that's what is happening. You get a bunch of people that move up in rank really quick and become sergeant majors, or they become colonels that are incompetent fucking idiots that nobody wanted around, so they sent them the fuck away, and they got promoted. Next thing you know, they're making policy changes and fucking up our military as we know what's happening right now that I've already shared with you. And it's a shame. I thought years ago they would have stopped this policy, but no, they're still doing it right now. Sending screwball Snuffy up to go take this school, take that school, take this class, get him out of our area so we don't have to deal with him. And then he builds promotion points, or she. And then one day, they're in charge. I've known every rank structure you can think of that were excellent at their job, and every rank structure you can think of that were incompetent, babbling idiots. And that's how our military runs. Folks, you got any places to be tonight? You chose to be here with me, and for that, I'm forever grateful. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to the channel, share it with your family and friends. In the description of this video and all my videos, all my shows, you can see the other places you can follow me on social media. Follow me, I'll follow you back there. I'm on Twitter, back on Twitter, after Elon Musk took over. I was able to get my profile back on Twitter and start building it up. And check this out. A lot of people left Twitter, and we have a big force of patriot Americans going on there and building big things to get the word out there. It is a great platform for getting the word out there, and we're finally allowed to do that under Elon Musk, regardless of what you think of him, okay? We're no longer being controlled by the far-left liberals that were running Twitter. So that's one of the platforms. Of course, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram. I've even got a TikTok thing where I do some stupid ass shit on TikTok that really, most of it's not political at all. It's just funny stuff that I do every now and then. Thanksgiving, I won't be doing a show obviously on Thursday because I'll be spending time with family, which will start right after this show tonight. So I hope that you get your belly full. I hope that you're safe, whatever you're doing. If you're traveling, please be safe. And remember those that are deployed. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders and their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. And may God bless our coalition forces that are currently and actively involved in fighting people that want to kill you and me. God bless. Take care, everyone. And I'll see you back here next Tuesday. If anything breaks, it's very important between now and then. I'll do a video about it, or I'll come on and do a quick live show. Other than that, eat some turkey, have a good time, and I'll see you soon. Take care, everyone. God bless.